Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny late night edition. The kind of show where, hey, Saturday night, if you feel like you need to pour a drink after seeing that one, as my colleague in the green room right now suggested, maybe maybe apt for the folks out there. You should do that. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after a game in which I personally have completely and entirely lost faith in the Winnipeg Jets' ability to execute the game plan that they are trying to execute with the roster as they currently have it constructed. So why don't you just hop into the car with me and let's take the opening drive for Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent, and I'll share my thoughts about it. I joked to Ken way back when, and we like to here. I'll give you some bad analysis I had. At one point, I told you I was confident the Winnipeg Jets were going to finish first in the Central Division. That is a long, long gone prophecy now. I also said at one point that I thought when Connor Hellebuck went down that the Jets were going to go with a 580 win percentage. That's bad analysis. And one thing I will say is, I've always said this before, if I'm telling you like, hey, this team's going to win that game or that kind of thing, like very definitive results, don't listen to it. Okay. If I was any good at that, or if anyone that you know was any good at that, they would be gambling and making, they wouldn't work, and they would just sit back and they would collect a paycheck off of their ability to see through the crystal ball. But I think there's a lot of things that Ken and I do get right on this show. And one of those things was extremely early on. Renny said to you, the Winnipeg Jets are not an up team. They're not a down team. And I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this tonight and thinking that, and wow, they were up. They were so much up, and they were gaining who they were against the Buffalo Sabres, the last place team in the East in their last game. And now they're down. What's going on here? And I said at some point, the Winnipeg Jets, they are not up and down. They are, in fact, extremely consistent and have been for the majority of the season. The problem is their game is only good enough to get them past lower degree of difficulty teams, and they seem to fail when it comes to the higher difficulty teams. A good barometer for that is the teams over the playoff markers. Half the league is below, half the league is above. Well, when I said that, I didn't think that they would never beat a team over the playoff line again. And yes, I hear you. The Edmonton Oilers aren't over the playoff line right now, or going into this game weren't. But I think we've seen enough from the Edmonton Oilers that it would be fair to maybe give them the benefit of the doubt that they're a team that starts the season off god-awful atrocious and then kind of decides to pour things on, goes to the Stanley Cup Finals in back-to-back years. The Edmonton Oilers lit it up in their last game. They look like they're catching fire. This is the Winnipeg Jets playing a team that's on fire and is really good. And this is what happened to them tonight. And I get that, their coach called a timeout and, read them the riot act. And I get that there's a lot of you folks out there who want to attribute this to that the guys didn't show up and, it wasn't their best effort. And I'm telling you, that's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I've saw all year. Was this their best effort? No, I don't think it was their best effort. But is what happened in this game because the Winnipeg Jets just decided not to show up? Or is it because things got really hard and a team that can get fast and move the puck really fast is going up against a Winnipeg Jets team that went from being the best defensive team in the NHL last year to a team that shows no sign of that blueprint? And some of the best analysis I gave was 4 shows ago or something like that, when I said, forget the idea of the Winnipeg Jets becoming who they were last year. That ship has sailed. This is not who this group is. That's not who they can be anymore. And I guess for the opening drive, if there's a point that I want to walk away from in this, it's that I'm at the stage right now where there's no point, beyond the shadow of a doubt. We're almost 30 games into the NHL season, folks. If you think it's weird that people would be trying to sell you the idea that the Winnipeg Jets just haven't put together a full 60 minutes in almost 30 games of a season, then I don't know. Like, don't buy that. Don't buy that. The folks who are trying to give you analysis and tell you, oh, here come the Winnipeg Jets. They're back to what they were last year. They're showing signs of it. Don't buy that. This roster is not the same roster as last year. It is evidently clear. It was painfully clear on a night like tonight. The Winnipeg Jets can't hang with teams that can skate fast. They have a tough enough time hanging with the Nashville Predators and the Buffalo Sabres. It's not there. And I guess I'm at the stage where people want me to be like, and maybe I do sound a little bit wound up. I don't want to be wound up. I don't want to be, reading the riot act. And if I'm being quite honest, people keep messaging me, and there was someone again who messaged me tonight to get on the show and absolutely rip them. And like, I don't have, maybe Rennie's getting soft in his old age. I don't have it in me. I feel empathy for this team. And the reason I feel empathy for the Winnipeg Jets is because right now they're out there trying to play a system that I do not think that they can play at the NHL level. And that's it. And what happens is when they face upper echelon teams, they look a league below. The Winnipeg Jets didn't look like they belonged on the same ice as the Edmonton Oilers here tonight. And yes, they got 2 late goals. If I've ever seen late garbage time goals, it's those. Anyone who's trying to tell you, oh, they came, they woke up late. Cole Koepke has goals in back-to-back games, and here that's coming on, and the top line kept going and all this kind of stuff. It was obvious at some point that the Edmonton Oilers checked out of this game. And this is, score effects. Most people know what score effects are now. That was clearly at play in this game here. But the Winnipeg Jets are going to try to go on and continue to play the system that they played last year, because I don't really think that you have a choice at the professional level. You came into camp, you trained this, you taught the system, you hired a coach based on a system that they like to deliver. And Ken and I have had conversations on Kenny Renny before about this. A lot of times when you're hiring a coach, you're hiring a system. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets did when they got Scott Arniel. And probably you can say that right back to the days when Rick Bowness started, because he had a huge, huge impact on the system that the Winnipeg Jets are playing. You don't just say, okay, well, crumple it up, let's try a new system. The only shot you have at this, stage is if the Winnipeg Jets are going to be if their management is going to be going out and trying to address the roster shortfalls that keep this team from being able to come anywhere near the blueprint that it set last year. And if there's any idea of seriously competing for the cup this year, which the Winnipeg Jets, you heard it on the broadcast, they've suggested that the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers are built to win right now teams. And I think the Winnipeg Jets thought they were built to win this year when they came into this. Well, clearly something went wrong in the design. You built the house and you walked in and you fell through the floor into the basement. Something went wrong in the building of this win right now team. And I think the Winnipeg Jets at this stage, there is not much more time. They are at a crossroads. If the Winnipeg Jets are going to continue to try to be a win right now team, it has to come from without. Or maybe it comes from the Moose, but I'll be the first one to say I don't think the answers lie in the farm system. Maybe you go that direction, and that means that you're not trying to be a win now team. You're trying to be like, well, let's develop guys along the way team here. But if the Winnipeg Jets are going to say anything other than, you know what, it didn't turn out how we thought it was going to this year, so we're going to go and we're going to give it the old college try, and we're going to try and get over the line, and we're going to do the best we can with what we have, well, then that would be honest. But at this stage, anyone telling you that the Winnipeg Jets are trying to win a Stanley Cup this year without addressing the massive flaws that exist right now in their lineup and their ability to execute their game plan, that's just to me, that's wishful thinking at this stage. Anyways, that is the Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent opening drive. I'm going to bring Ken in here right away. But first, we just wanted to tell you that this December, it is time to Toyota, Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent. Lease the 2025 Tacoma 4x4 SR5 truck from just $116 weekly for 64 months at 6.59% with $7,699 down and a $1,500 accessory credit. But hurry, the offer ends December 31st. You don't want to get tied up with your Christmas shopping and not get in on this deal, folks. Visit Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent for a test drive today. All right, time to bring in the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny, folks. Oh, here's my guy right here, bringing him into the show. There's Ken, everybody. Obviously not dressed up like a Vittorio Rossi man, as neither am I. Dressed like a guy who watched curling all day, which is a great way to spend a day. And then with some hockey at the end of it. Sports nut like me, that's all you want. But we're definitely not dressed to impress, Ken. But if you were interested in dressing to impress, you'd know what to do. You'd head on down to Vittorio Rossi on Corden Avenue. That's the obvious answer. You'd walk in. You would loudly proclaim that Kenny and Renny sent you. You would ask for Frankie and the boys, and they would impress you. And then you'd walk out the door and you'd impress other people. That's how it goes. It's a pretty simple transaction down there at Vittorio Rossi. You should go check them out, folks. And of course, tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. Ken, we were talking quickly off air before. Let's say it like this. There was a time, quite a long time ago, on the Kenny and Renny podcast that I told you I did not think the Winnipeg Jets, as currently constructed, were able to execute and become the team that they were. You weren't ready to give up on that idea yet. Are you there? Are you there?
I have to think they can play faster, but I don't know that they can make up the gap that is that's engulfing their season here right now, Sean. I mean, you talked about adjusting the expectation, and it's just this team right now it's confusing to watch for people. You think we know there's been some obvious changes, and we have dissected them thoroughly. But it's hard to believe this team has dipped as quickly as it has, right? I mean, we've talked so often about how hard it is to make up ground in the NHL. And right now, the Jets fell like a stone in a 1 month span. And yes, they're still within striking distance of a playoff spot. And yes, they got through one of, if not the most difficult portions in their schedule. But there aren't signs that tell you this team is on the verge of getting it figured out. And I think that's something that whether you're a player in that room, you're a coach on the staff, whether you're part of the management team, there's been a lot of head scratching going on. And that's sort of where you and I are at. We're pointing out, we can see the deficiencies, but the roadmap to fixing what is ailing the Jets is not obvious, or it's obvious, but it's going to require some attention. Like you said, it's hard to imagine this happening from within. And hey, if the Jets find a way to, poke holes in our theory, Sean, we'll see.
Probably think about doing it at some point. Anytime.
To me, we talk about narratives all the time. Like, this narrative about the Jets is well earned so far. And as you mentioned, I mean, today, first period in this game on Saturday against the Oilers was the official 1/3 mark of the 82 game season. So this isn't a small sample size, small thinking. This is a pretty big, foolscap filled with art. and the art is not making sense right now. This is just very baffling to me, Sean. We know some of the things are correctable. Yes, bad line changes, but Sean, bad line changes shouldn't be happening in game 27, even if you're a tired team playing on a back to back, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
these are smart guys. They didn't forget how to play hockey. They didn't forget how to defend. They didn't forget what is important and what made them successful. But I mean, as we've discussed, the speed element is a very, very real thing. Again, today is another great example. There's no forecheck, there's limited back check, and there's limited defensive zone coverage. And when you can't have any of those three facets, you A, can't play fast, and B, you can't make life difficult on your opponent, right? They're not doing any of those things. So, I mean, there was a time where, the Jets didn't defend, but man, they were fun to watch. They had Line scoring goals. They had, guys playing an up-tempo game. Right now, the Jets are neither a defensive team or a team that can score its way out of making mistakes. So that's a bad combination. And right now, we're talking about internal candidates or candidates with the Moose. I mean, the middle six is providing virtually nothing offensively. And again, that's not to say they haven't to this point. We know Nito Niederreiter has 6 goals. We know Vlad Nemestikov has 6 goals. But that's now 1 assist in 15 games for Vlad Nemestikov. And I'm not here to pick on Vlad Nemestikov. He's got lots of company. But Sean, again, this is the Jets season encapsulated. Scott Arniel breaks up the first line intentionally, but they end up on the ice together on a blended shift, and then they score, right? So the whole theory about breaking up the top line to spread out the offense, those guys end up on the ice for 20 seconds and they score, and yes, Cole Koepke gets a garbage time goal, and you know what? Good for him in that this is a guy that went 17 without or 16 games without and scored in his 17th. Now he feels a little better about himself. But Sean, outside of maybe trying Cole Koepke on that Adam Lowry line, on a checking line, we haven't learned anything else about what the combinations might look like, right? I mean,
Right.
the only thing they haven't tried is Barron or Koepke with Lowry in terms of trying to get speed and, try to find that Mason Appleton replacement on that line. And anyways, there's a lot of ways and things that we can discuss, but this isn't an easy fix. It's not an easy fix for the head coach. It's not an easy fix for the general manager, but both of those guys have to put some things together to try and find a better pathway for the Winnipeg Jets, because right now that pathway is destined for something that not a lot of teams have done. I mean, without improving some areas pretty dramatically, the Jets could find them. They're in tough. I mean, it's not that they can't make it, but they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better if they want to be just a playoff team and a wild card team, never mind a legitimate contender, which was what we all thought they were going into this season. And, again, and some of that is on the players too. I'm not here just saying it's coaching and management or whatever else. Not at all. Folks saying that, it's got to be this, got to be that. At some point, Sean, players have to look in the mirror and play better. I mean, we know they have the ability to play better, but everyone has to be better. And that's why Scott Arniel, pointed the finger at himself. That's right out of the coaching manual. But players need to be better also. So anyways, there's a lot of things that have to be improved upon quickly. Or again, Sean, we've referenced this date, and now the clock is ticking. November 1st is a long time ago. Jets haven't had back-to-back consecutive regulation wins since November 1st. That was beating Chicago on the Thursday, beating the Penguins on the Saturday. And Sean, as we've mentioned, that's the last time the Jets beat a team over the playoff line. They've got an incredibly important, and Sean, we don't like to exaggerate on this program. This is a season-defining week for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm here to say it right now. I understand it's still more, lots of games, 51 games to go after this 4-game homestand, but the Jets are playing 4 really good teams in a short success. And again, I would say 5, including the Oilers. no matter what the record is. And yes, they're below the line right now, but they're playing 4 really good teams in this week on a 4-game homestand. And the Jets cannot afford to have the old, first game back after a long road trip, sleepwalking through the first game. Forget it. I mean, you can't do that. Jets have to be sharp, and they're going to have to up their game dramatically. Because, Sean, maybe sometimes when you get up to play a tough opponent, it can help them. Like the Dallas Stars, Jets better be ready, or they could get embarrassed quickly like they did in this game today.
Well, that's the tricky part, because right now, and I joked about it at the beginning, I joked about it with you when I said that the Winnipeg Jets can't beat good teams and the only teams they're beating are poor teams. I didn't think that was going to mean for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? At some point,
Sure.
you'd think that they were going to. But the fact of the matter is, and while it was happening, and this is why I thought I'm gonna point to a very specific game, and this one really stands out to me. And it was the Jets playing the Vancouver Canucks when they'd gone in and they'd got run out of the rink by the Anaheim Ducks. And they'd been beaten by the Sharks, and they'd been beaten by the Kings. Like the Kings, I think all made sense to us. The Sharks was like, what the heck's happening here? And then things just got worse. The opposite of what we saw from the team last year, where they would snap to it. Things just got worse. And then they got to Vancouver, and there was this, oh, there it is. Hey, they're coming around. Like that game stands out to me because that's not what I saw. I saw a team that just barely got over another struggling team. And I get it. Wishful thinking. If you're a fan and you're watching the Winnipeg Jets, you're thinking, okay, here they come, because you equate wins quite simply with they did what it took to win tonight, and that was a really good game. My issue is like over and over and over again, and we can like break down and we can dissect the games moving in reverse. We don't need to break this one down because the Winnipeg Jets got pumped in this game. They weren't in the same area code as the Edmonton Oilers in this one. And then you go back to the Buffalo Sabres, and yeah, they win that game. And I know some people were kind of mocking the idea. We were talking about the deserve to win a meter. And believe me, I'm not campaigning for the team to win the game at the end of the game, get the 2 points for winning on the deserve to win a meter. But that said, when the Winnipeg Jets get outshot and outskated for the vast majority of the game by the Buffalo Sabres, yet they somehow managed to win, that's not telling me, okay, they're turning things around. Things are coming around. When they lose the game before that to the Montreal Canadiens, who are on the backside of a back-to-back, and it's the Montreal Canadiens who push and get back into that game when it's the Jets who should be building stronger and stronger as that game goes on. And those 2 games I'm talking about, you basically have your goaltender steal you the points. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the Winnipeg Jets. And then you go back to the game before that and they get hosed by the Buffalo Sabres. That shouldn't be happening to a really good team. And then the game before that, yes, they get a win over the Nashville Predators, but the Nashville Predators are all over the Winnipeg Jets, coming out almost getting close to erasing a 3-goal deficit that's earned by one of the Nashville's top players, who is not playing like a top player, a veteran guy that they brought in, giving up on 2 plays that end up in the back of their net. And then they almost surrender the lead, and it takes a little bit of a lucky bounce from a point shot that lands on Kyle Connor's stick, and he pops in the back of the net. And then I just go back and back and back and back, and I can't find a game, Ken, whether it's a win or whether it's a loss. And sometimes a loss is just fine. You lost, but you played really, really good in that loss. Yeah. Okay. I'm starting to believe in you. I'm starting to see things. What I see time and time again is a kid getting their math homework and every once in a while passing the test, but for the most part, sitting there scratching their heads, not knowing where to go with this and not understanding the work that's ahead of them, because the Winnipeg Jets look nothing like what they are supposed to look like, what they said they would look like. And this is one of the points that I wanted to make, Ken, and point out that I've wanted to for a while. I think the thing that's so strange is the Winnipeg Jets, when Scott Arniel came, not Scott Arniel, the first year that Bones was here, you could see in training camp what they were trying to do. Like, it was obvious. They were going to be pressuring people. You saw right away in that camp, they were playing the style game where they were going to get the puck back. You got the puck, we are going to get the puck back from you. And you saw it executed for that first part of the year. Then they fell back into their old habits, still made the playoffs. Then the next year they came back and they were even stronger. And then last year, they came into the season, and if you remember, they'd lost to Foley, who never really fit in, and they lost Sean Monahan. But before that, the team had been kept alive by Vladislav Nemestikov. They basically brought the same team back. And I think, I don't know, I was probably one of the people guilty of that. I saw that as a sign of failure for the Winnipeg Jets. But what they did is they took that consistency and they narrowed their game down even more. And that led to their President's Trophy winning season, because everyone walked into camp 1,000% understanding of what their role was on that team. And I think the thing that just baffles us, and that I wasn't expecting, Ken, even with the changes, I did not expect that the loss of those players. I knew Ehlers would be big. I laid out, you can go back to our early shows, how I thought that it was going to affect the Winnipeg Jets losing him. I did not see the changes of those 4 players that I bring up all the time entirely stealing the speed element from the Winnipeg Jets and stealing it away from a system that is predicated on speed. Sure. And I just, the more I see this team, the more it's like we talked about it early, Ken. We talked about it on this show from around game 10 and on. This team looked slow. They've done nothing since then in any game to make us think they don't look slow. Against the Nashville Predators, they looked like they were right there with an older Nashville Predators team. Yep. They looked like they got run out of the rink against Buffalo. They barely held on against Montreal. They got outskated by Buffalo, but found a way to win. And then tonight, it was just nowhere there. And I just take a look at this time and time again, and I think the consistency last year that we thought was a failure of the Winnipeg Jets and that they couldn't add to their roster actually ended up being the superpower that got them to the President's Trophy. And now the additions that they brought in this year of the veteran leadership that was supposed to take this team to the next level has actually turned out to be their kryptonite.
Yeah, and then that's the thing that is making this even harder to believe in real time when you watch it unfold, right? I mean, it's just very odd. And like Sean, I mean, I don't think this is about culture, because the Jets had to work so hard to rebuild that culture, but there's something wrong with the mix. I'm not saying there's bad people in the room, but there's something wrong with the mix. This team is not, a cohesive unit. I mean, it's not a team that is, at least on the ice. I mean, they're, all we've heard is these guys love each other and everything else the last few years. And I don't think that has changed, but this is the time where, and we know this to be true because there hasn't been any finger pointing or anything like that within the group, but this is a real test. All we've heard about how resilient the Jets are. I mean, this is a big push on that resilience. And this is when you find out what teams are made of. We've been applauding the leadership for, few important years now. And, these guys didn't suddenly become bad leaders. So now they have to dig from within, and you got to attack this head on, Sean. You can't go hide in the corner and hope things are going to change. I'm not saying the Jets are doing that, but what I am saying is that they had a players only meeting already this week. So, guys holding each other accountable, that's not just something that can happen in a game. It's got to happen on the daily, right? And that we know these guys are trying to work hard, but man, it's got to, like, this is a big test of their mettle. And, we're about to find out what these guys are made of. I think that's how I'm viewing. That's the lens that I'll be watching this next week with.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready to hand out the Flame and Comfort hot take of the game where Kyle Berg says, wasn't this a scheduled loss anyways? What's the panic for? Hey, from
sarcasm?
From a microscope view, it's probably sarcasm. But if it's not, Ken, my goodness.
You and I are both feeling like Sheldon Cooper right now, right? This is something that think it's sarcasm.
I
but I'm
believe.
not certain.
I'm not sure. It
Kyle,
deserves the flame and comfort
yeah,
regardless. But are you not watching
Kyle,
what's been
explain
happening for
yourself.
over a month? They've been the worst team in the NHL for over a month, and we're like, scheduled loss. What's the problem here, folks? Right? Like, anyways, if it's not the flame and comfort hot take, it's a pretty darn good joke here. But we're gonna hand it the flame and comfort hot take, brought to you, of course, by Flame and Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth related. After 50 years heating up your world, Flame and Comfort has moved to 1465 St. James Street. When you get down there, you're going to see it as one of the most impressive showrooms in Western Canada. You don't need your hot takes to keep that warm feeling inside, folks. You can visit Flame and Comfort, and they will take care of it for you. Ken,
So
I want to ask you
to the Jets, just in general. This homestand is the pristine roofing wake up call.
Okay, well,
this has got to be rock bottom. This has got to be rock bottom.
Ken thinks that this is the week that's going to decide things for the Winnipeg Jets. And if so, they better get the pristine roofing wake-up call before they start this week. And you know what that means. Time to give North End Rick the pristine roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. The guy you want down at your place for all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. You can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 204-237-7663. Give your home the pristine roofing and siding wake-up call, folks. You will be glad that you did. Ken, I'm gonna throw this at you.
Sure.
I'm just gonna let you I'm gonna hand off the ball like a quarterback. To the point of what you're saying, where there was some changes and things like that. And I talked about it in the last show. What I admire about the Winnipeg Jets game is that they didn't do what I saw Buffalo do last night, which was almost like turning their back on the game repeatedly. And it's like, well, no wonder Buffalo is constantly where they are because of the kind of things that they were doing. I don't see that from the Winnipeg Jets. And even the fact that, garbage time, they started putting a couple more goals, and you could see that they're still pressing, right? And I know people would want more, and I know that it's in garbage time, but it still looked like when the Edmonton Oilers took their foot off the gas pedal, and let's say like they didn't just let it up a little bit. They took the foot right off the gas pedal in this game. The Winnipeg Jets were there to step up a little bit offensively when they were given a chance to do so. But what I think I keep seeing, Ken, because we keep seeing very uncharacteristic things from the Winnipeg Jets, mistakes by players, getting caught, breakaways, all those different kind of things that, we didn't really see a lot of from the Winnipeg Jets last year. And I'll say this, their body language when they leave the ice after periods and head into the dressing room, it's just so I'm just going to put it like this, Ken. I watch this team and I feel like I'm seeing a team that has lost belief. And the Winnipeg Jets were such a team of belief last year that the Manitoba Miracle only happens to a team that has this belief that until the bell goes, we still are right in this game. And we used to say, I remember there was a game against Colorado and Axel Jonsson-Fialbi went in with there's 6 seconds left on the clock. They dump the puck and he gets in, steals the puck from Devon Toews and scores a goal. The Mark Scheifele, the shot off of where they pulled the goaltender, and the shot that he scores against Minnesota early in the season last year at the end of the first period. And then within a couple of games of that, it was, who was it? The Chicago Blackhawks, and Nikolai Ehlers, I believe, scores late to tie it up. And this was just a team that time and time again had this unshakable belief. I feel like what we're looking at right now is a Winnipeg Jets team that has lost belief. Do you agree or not?
I don't know about lost, but it's definitely wavering, Sean. And again, I don't think they've lost belief, because teams that lose belief kind of fade into the night or, go into the abyss.
What are we seeing?
Well, no, I'm not seeing a team quitting completely.
No, but
that's what I mean. I understand what you're saying. You don't have to quit to lose belief.
I think quitting, I think you can lose belief. I think quitting is a lack of character. I think losing belief is a lack of seeing the hard work that you put in leading to the end goal that you're expecting from it.
No, and that's fair. Anyways, I don't think that they're at that point quite yet, but they're definitely they want to know what the heck is going on. Like they're let's just say I'm saying you're ahead of me on the game, and in by the end of the homestand or in 10 games, I may be coming around to your point of view here.
I'll keep
I'm
the
not
seat warm for you.
well, good on you. You are the early adopter. This is like when you. And never mind. I don't want to get into it. This is Cale Makar, Bobby Orr territory from 2 years ago. Yes, inside joke there. Yeah, it's there are days when it looks that way for sure. But just you and I have been around this team for a long time. That isn't the way that the core group is wired. So I don't think that they're to that stage yet. But they're definitely wondering what is going on and how are they going to fix it. But, again, we'll see what happens. Now, Jets have had a tough schedule. We know this. This is not an excuse. I'm glad that Josh Morrissey handled those questions the way that he did. Good teams find a way to battle through those things. And he said flat out, I don't think we've handled this very well of late, not getting games to overtime when you don't have your best. So, Jets are going home. They're off the road. It's no more 12 and 16 on the road. No time zone business. Go home and get rested up because you better be ready because the team's coming in here. Sean, what we're seeing now is what we used to see. Jets are getting jetsed right now. They used to go into buildings and smell blood in the water. To your point about belief, Sean, other teams are now looking forward to playing the Jets, and we would have never said that for a lot of teams last year. And I'm not just talking about bottom feeders.
Yeah.
There's teams coming in thinking that the Jets are vulnerable and that they can take advantage of this tough stretch that they're going through.
Well, I mean, look at how many teams. There was a stretch of games there, 4 or 5 games in a row, wasn't it, where teams were putting their backup goaltender out against the Winnipeg Jets.
Right.
Now, I know the Jets are full-time, have their backup goaltender in there, which should bring us to talking about Comrie and the outing he has tonight. It's another one where he's not able to pull off the miracles that we've seen Connor Hellebuyck pull off in the past, but it's probably another one where if you're desperate to blame it on your goaltender, I would argue you're desperate to be ignorant of or blind to the many failings of this team.
Yes, I think I said again, this is not a shot at Matt Hyman. We appreciate him being here, but he said something about rebound control, and I think he's referencing the Connor McDavid shot. And for me, Sean, that's not a rebound control issue. That's a back checking issue by someone who's an incredibly reliable back checker. Alex Iafallo has to have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there. He's on the wrong side of him, and that's why the goal goes in. That's not bad rebound control. That's the best player in, if not Nathan McKinnon, that's the best player in the NHL, cutting to the middle, going cross stream, and Eric Comrie having to make a really good save. It happens to get kicked out into a place where Ryan Nugent-Hopkins beats Alex Iafallo to the puck. That's not bad rebound control for me. And again, some people want to be on Logan Stanley. No issue with Logan Stanley putting the hit on Zach Hyman. Hyman takes the hit to make a play. F3's got to be there, Sean. Jets talk about pressuring all the time. That's not a bad pinch where the D-man leaves his guy behind. That's a check that has to be made on the back check. And again, Alex Iafallo is a very smart and dependable two-way player, but that's a one-on-one battle he did not win with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
I wanted to bring this one up here because where is it?
Sorry, I don't blame Comrie. That's a mercy pull again. Now, you can question whether or not the Jets should have started Comrie, and Sean, you understand why they did. He's been playing great, but there were some risks given the workload for this week.
Well, and it's why I did not think for a second that they would go with the player, is because you're talking about a guy who's adapting to being a starting goaltender for the first time. That's a hard pull for any goaltender. It's a hard pull for Connor Hellebuyck. Rarely happens with Connor Hellebuyck. So to me, it seemed a little bit strange. Maybe they thought they were playing with house money because they got to win against the Buffalo Sabres. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Connor Hellebuyck steals a couple of these saves here and these goals, and they don't happen, and then it keeps it within, shooting distance. Maybe it's only a 3-0 lead or something like that. And then the Jets get a goal and then they start coming back and put the pressure on and do all those kind of things. Except, folks, what did I tell you at the beginning of the year? The Winnipeg Jets weren't going to be the comeback team this year that they were last year because of the whole Ehlers element and all that kind of stuff. So even that, and that to me, Ken, goes back to the idea of belief. It's just one more thing that's been stripped away that would keep the Winnipeg Jets from having that feeling of no, what they say last year? We just keep doing the right things over and over and over again and expect that it's going to work out for us. Well, I just see a team that's trying to do the right things and it's not working out. And it doesn't make sense for them that it's not working out. But that's because last year, I don't know, Adam Lowry just had to go here. Because Mason Appleton got down to the puck and pressured the guy, and the only place for him to put the puck was up over in this spot here, right? And now it's different. You can go to that spot, and the puck's not coming there anymore. Why? Because there's missing elements that created things, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's put it like this. It's like having faith that your soup is going to taste really great when you don't put in salt and you don't put in thyme and you forget the beef and you're like, why doesn't my beef stew taste like it usually does? Right. I have faith. You can have all the faith in the world that you want, but it gets a little puzzling when you've made a dish and you've left a bunch of ingredients out and all of a sudden it doesn't taste the same. And it's not their job to be the cook, right? That's Kevin Cheveldayoff's job. That's the coaching staff's job. And so right now I just see a players group that is just pushing to make things happen, trying to make plays that they made last year and being like, well, when I made this play last year, there wasn't a guy coming crashing down on me right away, right? And it's because the system is different. It's not the same. And I just think that consistency is now working against the Winnipeg Jets because all the things that they've learned to expect over the last couple of years from playing within their system, they can no longer learn. They look like they can no longer expect that system to be the same. And what it does is it takes players who've just been playing instinctually for a while now, and their instincts are wrong. And it's just not kind of working out. Ken, we should get to talking about the line shakeups. And I guess if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you're trying to find growth in putting those lines out there. And you can shoot for growth with Cambrian Wealth. Grow your wealth today to reach tomorrow's big goals. Cambrian's Wealth team can assist. Invest in your future self your way. Our pals at Cambrian Wealth give you straight up investing advice, and you can actually understand it and help you make a strong financial play to get there. Book an appointment at cambrian.mb.ca, and they will take real good care of you. Ken, give Sweet Lou a shout out while you're at it.
Yes, sir. For realty needs that need to be met, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU at LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
So, Ken, outside of plugging Sweet Lou into the lineup, I think the Winnipeg Jets have tried just about everything now because they went there. They broke up the top line at some point in this game. Which
period,
Renny gave you a little bit of a sneak preview after the Montreal game. I told you the coaching staff had said that they were talking about it. If things didn't change, it was time to go there, and they got that one win. And as soon as things started falling apart, they went there. So that wasn't BS. Very honest Scott Arneal talking about that. What did you take away from that? I know you touched on it before, but what do you take away from the jumbling that happened?
Yeah, not a lot. It's garbage time minutes. So the biggest problem for the Jets still remains what you talked about last year, Sean. The Jets lines all look the same, not in terms of how they attack because the skill sets are different, but in terms of how they defended. And that is just not happening right now at all.
1 second. What's that show that was on ESPN? It's not on anymore, where when you make good points, there's like boop, boop, boop. What show is that?
It's Tony Reali. Yes.
Yes. Our friend Emily Kaplan was on it all the time.
She was,
Anyways,
yes.
in my head, when you made the point about all the lines are supposed to look like each other, my head just went boop 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 because
Around the Horn was the show.
Around the Horn, because that is a massive point that you just made there, Ken. The Jets top line looks like no other line on this team. And that idea of like the defending grinding line, no one is getting to that. Maybe they do all look alike, Ken, in that they're ineffectual and they're defensively deficient and they're absolutely offensively not there.
Right. And what we talked about, I mean, Louis DeBrusk, the only thing that he could kind of muster, and you can't blame him given the effort, what we saw, he was plugging the fourth line. Like fourth line's got, Sean, we've been asking, wondering about secondary scoring. Well, the only secondary scoring is coming from the line that couldn't score at all for a long time. So fourth line's got three goals. Yes, one of them is in a garbage time, sure. But if you're Cole Koepke trying to build that's a positive for him. But fourth line can't be the best line of those three lines on 2 nights in a row in terms of second, third, and fourth line when you're looking for other things. You just don't know what you're getting right now. And Sean, you know my feelings about this. I thought it would be Velarde. It wasn't going to be Scheifele and Connor broken up. I want to see a little bit more of Lowry and Velarde, maybe with Taves, maybe with Barron, whoever you put there can work. But I just think that, again, like we talked about, the one blended shift that the top line had together when Alex Iafallo went and changed, the top line scored when they were on the ice together. So in looking to stretch out the lineup, Scott O'Neill basically got a goal from that line and then kind of went back to them pretty quickly. So I didn't see any lightning in a bottle. I didn't see immediate success. I didn't see, something that said, aha, that's going to work if you leave them together for 5 games. So that this is part of the issue. Now, Gustav Nyquist was scratched. He had never been scratched in his career before. Now it's 3 in a row. Do you consider going back with him against Stars in an effort to get the offense going? That right now, outside of calling someone up, that's where the Jets are at. But when it comes to who's going to sit, well, they've got lots of candidates, but there's also some consequences attached to some of those things. And I'll be curious to see what the lines look like, Sean. I think the Jets go back to the top line for the game against Dallas. Having the last change, I'll definitely be curious to see who's with Adam Lowry, and if Lowry is going to be asked to go up against Rope Hintz like he was often last year, or if he's going to be playing against Wyatt Johnston or somebody else. It's just the Jets have too many players that aren't playing at a high enough level in the middle six. And that's been a huge problem. It's not just a small problem anymore, Sean. It's a huge problem right now for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, let me just start off with moving Velarde onto that line. I didn't think it worked.
Agreed.
I think Velarde works and this is the deal. Not to be diminishing of the player, but Gabe Velarde popped when he came to the Winnipeg Jets, but he popped very specifically because he got onto a line with, a top 10 center in the NHL and a top 10 winger in the NHL, and 2 guys who have a ridiculous amount of chemistry between the 2 of them. And he's the kind of player they need on their line, a big body who's good at possession, who's really good at like holding the puck on the boards, taking it off the boards, getting it back to the other guys, and then kind of, finding those soft spots in the defense when those guys start taking your eyes in different directions. I saw once he got onto a line with Adam Lowry, just a very, very, narrowly defined hockey player, right? Like 3 guys just going straight up and down their lanes, kind of no magic to it. Like the magic that he has coming off those players, it's something else, and it works really, really great. But I don't know that works anywhere else. It's a way of me saying I don't think Gabe Velarde gets onto a line and then drives a different line offensively. So that's the question, right? Because people are bringing it up, and I will say, there's an admission here that there's an admission that the Winnipeg Jets didn't really go crazy in breaking up the top line. They haven't broken up Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. And those are the two players that I think could actually drive a line offensively on their own, right? Like you could take, a la Sidney Crosby, who it's just basically like you want to get someone going, put them with Sidney Crosby and save up all the other scorers for the other lines, because Sidney Crosby will take, the water boy if you put skates on him that night, and the assistant general manager out on the ice, and he'll get you a hat trick that night. Mark Scheifele, the only shot I really think they have of finding depth scoring by taking players and elevating other players. I think the only two drivers who are capable of doing that as it stands right now on this team is Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. I think they expected that out of Jonathan Toews. They're not getting that out of Jonathan Toews. I think the move to the wing for Jonathan Toews, he looks a little lost to me out there. And it's kind of strange because, playing center, you'd think that there's more responsibility. So you'd think that would be the position that he looks slower in. I found he looked slower. He looks slower when he's playing on the wing. I think the reason for that is when you know what you're doing, you can speed things up, right? So Jonathan Toews knows how to play center. Now he's a little bit in no man's land. It doesn't really know or isn't used to playing the wing typically. And I think that little bit of indecision is slowing him down, and it's made him look even slower. I thought tonight was, a hard night to find the folks who are saying, oh yeah, but he made that one really nice pass that buys him another game kind of thing, right? I just didn't think that's working out. So I honestly, at this stage, I don't know where you go, which is probably brings me back to the point that I made in the beginning of like, I don't think the Jets get out of this unless they add or change the mix on their roster, because I'm looking at this and it's switching guys up and it's switching guys up, and it's okay. Now let's try and see if we can't find that magic that existed at one time between Nemesnikov and Niederreiter, right? And then let's throw Perfetti on there because there was magic between Perfetti and Nemesnikov. It just feels like they've gone to these little things, and it feels like Ken, like he's got a Zippo lighter, Scott Arniel, and he's like flicking the flint over and over and over again, but there's no fuel in that thing because everywhere he goes, he's trying to spark a fire and it's just not working. The only thing this team has is a top line that is ablaze and continues to be ablaze, but I don't think you truly plumb the depths of what would happen if we broke up the first line unless you take Mark Scheifele and have him on a line and Kyle Connor and have him on a line. And I think one of those two lines has to have Gabe Vilardi on it. I think that you can't
too many other guys not going.
Exactly. Anyways, I just feel like they're spinning the wheel and it's coming all the way back around and it's coming around empty. And I guess I would say, while we're talking about spinning the wheel, let's talking about wrapping a wheel around this head of mine and make this a Sean's Headband version of the Kenny and Renny Show. No doubt, Ken, the Jets looking for answers. If you're looking for answers when it comes to any of your pharmaceutical needs, any of your supplemental needs, any of your health food needs, I know the people who have the answers for you. It's the folks down at Myers Drugs. And, if you want to give it a try, you just got to pick up the phone and give a call down there because they deliver anywhere within the city. Give them a try, folks. Tell them Kenny and Renny sent you. Okay, Ken, anything you want to talk about?
Yes, quickly before we go to the awards, because those are going to be hard to handle.
Yes.
What was Connor McDavid doing? Trying to get behind Comrie. Why did he think that was a road available to him? What is he doing?
I don't know. It's just when you're that fast, like when you're going 200 kilometers an
But
hour,
why?
sometimes you're like, hey, I'm going to try and take that back alley there. And then, oops, that's not
How
open,
did you
right?
think that was not going to be a car crash there? And
Yeah,
Eric
I don't
Comrie's
know.
lucky. I know obviously he wasn't trying to hit him, but he almost elbowed him in the back of the mask. That was a
Ken,
crazy play.
yeah, I'm going in a totally different direction here,
Okay.
but people were talking about De Boer and like, what do you think of the idea that people in the search for answers are going and talking about replacing the coach that Pete
Yeah.
DeBoer just less than about a half a year ago was saying he thought was the best coach in the NHL last season. I mean,
Yeah.
how little rope could you possibly give a guy who took a team to the President's Trophy and then turn around when things aren't necessarily working, especially because to me, I think what stands out as the biggest culprit for the Jets this year is the mix that has changed. His system we knew worked last year. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like they're able to execute the system. Is that the coach's fault?
No, it's double wake up call territory here. Yeah, I mean Scott O'Neill's looking for answers, and he's part of wanting to change what has been happening. But um, firing the coach is a cop out. It should not be done, and it's a ridiculous notion. That's all. I mean, really, that's all I have to say.
There's nothing else to say about it. I mean, going there in this direction would be, I mean, for maybe the most patient organization in hockey, and maybe the most patient
Yeah,
organization in pro sports. The idea of letting go of their coach that quickly is asinine, and it would be considered that way within the organization. I'm
yeah,
not saying the thought process by people out there saying that, but just the idea of moving on from someone who had the success and had a team playing like they were last year. That coach knows how to get a team executing something.
exactly.
Right?
And it's got nothing to do with loyalty. The guy
Yes.
literally posted the best record in franchise history last year.
Yeah. Yes. And brought a trophy that will hang in the rafters for the rest of time for the Winnipeg Jets, right? One that they've never won before. That's a massive accomplishment to turn around and fight. That's the kind of move, Ken, that I think sends an organization into a tailspin. Do you know what I mean? When you
Agreed.
take a look at
That's how
organizations,
bad
things
organizations act. Like,
for sure. That's how you end up getting organizations where, we tell those stories in the broadcast of this is their fifth coach in the last 18 months and stuff
right.
like that.
Like
And those
Buffalo.
and
Buffalo.
those teams are never like the really, really good teams. That's never like, hey, the Colorado
Right.
Avalanche or whoever, they just keep
Exactly.
firing and firing and firing people like that. That's a knee-jerk reaction, calling for the firing of a head coach in a situation like this beyond knee-jerk reactions. Anyways, get to the Johnston Group got you covered play of the game, Ken. Do you
Oh
have
boy.
one?
I was going to say it goes to Thomas Milich for coming off the bench, maybe, but I didn't see a lot of got you covered moments by the Jets over the course of the game, to be honest. So, in a game that he probably prepared to start until he was told he wasn't starting, Thomas Milich coming off the bench, and hey, I get it. It would have been tough to throw a young kid and up in the NHL for basically a week and change into the fire against a team that put up 9 against the Seattle Kraken. But anyways, I thought, Milich came in, turned aside 10 of 12, did what was asked of him in relief. So, I mean, in a night where not a lot of people had people covered, I guess the other honorable mention can go to Gabe Vilardi for, having a blended shift for 20 seconds and scoring, to break up the shutout. But outside of that, I don't really have anything unless you have something that I've forgotten.
I'm going to give it to Cole Koepke for having
there you go.
the bottom 9 covered.
Good one.
So
Better
that
one.
we cannot say no goals from the bottom 9. So for a second straight game, he's taken and popped that balloon and made it a little bit less of a conversation. So anyways, that would be my and Ken's Johnston Group got you covered play of the game, the Kenny and Renny OGs. And hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Well, you should look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And Ken, Jason, I can't read it here, but he's got us covered. He says, you are both so wrong. And
Gurelnik.
Jason Gurelnik. I believe this is
about which part?
I think
Oh,
the last thing that
it's
we were
recent
kind of
enough for the
both.
coaches. Okay.
I think that's what this is.
Tell
So
us why we're wrong, Jason.
yeah,
Anyone can
yeah.
say we're wrong.
If you
Please
can
expand.
give us an explanation of why the Buffalo Sabres model is the one that you're interested in putting forth here, please let us know. Or if we've got it wrong and it's something else that you think we're wrong for,
Fire away.
let us know. We'd like to know. Anyways, in the
And we're happy to
meantime,
admit when we're wrong.
yes, I did at the beginning of the broadcast here. Anyways, if we'd love to see the response here. In the meantime, let's go to the hashtag the keg save of the game. Another award that is going to be really, really hard for the Jets because they didn't make many saves, and hard for the Oilers because they really didn't have to face a lot at the start of the game. By the way, the other part of this is like, what was it, 9 shots by the Winnipeg Jets after the first 2 periods?
Yeah.
Like, here's the other thing about the Eric Comrie criticism. Like, I get it. You're frustrated and you're used to Connor Hellebuck and all this kind of stuff. But, like, my goodness, if you really think the goaltending is a problem, shouldn't you, at least as the Winnipeg Jets, or shouldn't you expect a team like the Winnipeg Jets to put up more shots than they've been putting up night after night after night, where they basically can't get shots on net? And you're thinking the goaltender is the problem when your offense is absolutely firing on no cylinders?
And they can't spend any time in the other zone.
Yeah. Did you find a
I've got
keg save of the game?
I do. I have one. And
Thank God, Ken.
It's very unconventional, and it has not been done. Might have been done before once for Matt Prefontaine. The keg save of the game belongs to Noah Siegel for his coach's challenge on the offside on the Mark Scheifele goal, which only temporarily saved Stuart Skinner's shutout. Now, again, it would have been much more impactful had that actually been a shutout, but that's how far down the road we are today, Sean, in terms of looking for one, that Noah Siegel is getting his first keg save of the game, as brought to you by our good friends at the Keg.
Good stuff. Okay. That's the hashtag the keg save of the game. Bless you, Ken, for finding one. Doesn't matter though if Ken thinks that. Matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. And our winner from our last show would be T Spider-Man 78. T Spider-Man 78. You know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me an email. I'll have the fine folks at the Keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine Keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last.
And sorry, quickly. Jason says he's talking about when Vegas fired DeBoer, but it wasn't an immediate reaction. It was after they had been to the Western Conference final, right? Or to the Cup final. So I don't see that as that. That's the exception to the rule. That's not how most people act. And there were other things at play in Vegas when that happened.
I mean, well, for sure. Like, it was the coach wanted out of there. Like, it's a little bit apples and oranges, right?
It was related to how the goalies were handled again. This was the same thing that happened to Pete in Dallas. So that's not a good comparison, Jason. Sorry. It did happen. Agreed. But that's not how winning organizations generally act.
Well, I'll say this. I think Jason came up with a pretty decent, decent and an interesting example for what he's doing here. But I mean, at some point you're going to find, people who are fired. Maybe you want to use the example of the Florida Panthers, who turn around and fire Andrew Brunette after winning the President's Trophy, right? In the year that they that they win the President's Trophy, he gets fired. That's another example of that. I just don't think that, like, in a case like that, I think you need to be able to put your thumbprint on it and say, this is very specifically the coach's fault. Like, if you're going to make that turn, and as that hard after winning a President's Trophy, there needs to be, to your point, examples of, well, he's clashing with the players behind the scenes. Right. This thing happened and we weren't very happy with how that went. And there's a tension there. There's no tension between Scott Arniel and the Winnipeg Jets players. There's no problem. There's no him clashing in the back rooms with people. There's a whole bunch of confused people right now who seem to be, kind of blown away that they can't play their system. And honestly, Scott Arniel looks as confused as anybody. Now, maybe someone would use that as an indictment on him. But coaches aren't perfect, and let's be honest, I think that there's how many coaches. The one thing I think that you need to point out here is what's happening in Winnipeg happens all the time. Like, teams go from being playoff teams to missing the playoffs the next year, and coaches a lot of times think things are going to be good, and then they don't have the answers, because what happens is the mix goes off, like it seems to have gone off here, and those things aren't easy to fix. They're hard to fix, right? So what is happening in Winnipeg right now? It's frustrating. If you're a fan and you were expecting to be contending for a cup this year, yeah, it's going to be frustrating. But I've been talking a lot with people. What you're seeing right now, a team that it doesn't quite have the personnel it needs to execute the system it wants to execute. That's the story of almost every team in the NHL. And that's why they're trying to get guys. That's why the Montreal Canadiens are trying to get a second line center right now, because they don't feel they can execute what they're trying to without that player. And that's why the Edmonton Oilers are always looking for a goaltender, and so on and so forth. Teams are only as good as their personnel. And I think the Jets thought they had what they needed here. I think they're finding out that they don't. And that's just the fact of life in the NHL. Is very few teams have every single position filled the way that they want every single position filled. Ken, you had something to say?
Right on. Last one too. Sorry, Kelsey Eliasson. Berube as an example. Berube got fired 4 years after winning the cup, not the year after. Again,
they're talking about him coming in and winning. They're talking about Berube coming in and winning.
Oh, we're not saying people can't come in and win. That's not what we're talking about. We're not saying people panic. And Berube was in his 6th year as the coach, and the Blues looked terrible when he was fired. It wasn't that he was fired the year after they won the cup. I mean,
so they're saying, I mean, they seem to have this backwards. They're coming and bringing the guy in afterwards, right?
Yes.
We're saying that in the case of a lot of these situations here, those are the next guys who come in. They didn't necessarily now, or in some of these cases, if you want to put those names up again, some of those coaches were brought in because they thought, let's go grab that next guy, right? Yes. So that's fine. But then you tell me the coach that's waiting in the wings that's saying, I know how to make this Winnipeg Jets team work. And again, there needs to be a definitive reason to want to move on. And the funny part about this, it's a moot point. It is a moot point, Ken. It's a moot point because the Winnipeg Jets are not going to do that. No. I can tell you that right now. People can debate it all day long. It's not happening. Anyways, I got to get up and coach a curling game tomorrow morning. Yes. So I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, I'd like to say to all these late night folks, if you
thanks for being here.
Appreciate the conversations that are happening in the spaces, we appreciate you showing up like you do at times like this. We implore you to appreciate our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent, Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, Cambrian Credit Union, Sweet Lou Furlan, Flame and Comfort, Myers Drugs, the Kenny and Renny OGs in the Johnson Group, and of course the fine folks at the Keg. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you for showing up. We'll talk to you next game. Bye-bye.